What if the Titanic had today's technology? Did you know that modern ships can detect icebergs over 20 nautical miles away using radar?
Bearing 070, distance 22 miles.
With today's technology, ship collisions like the Titanic disaster might have been completely avoidable. More than 1,500 people died. It was one of the saddest peacetime maritime disasters at sea. But what if the Titanic had all the cool and smart ship technology we use today? Would it still sink? Or if it still sank, would everyone be saved? Let's imagine and find out together. Imagine a ship so advanced it can see through the darkness, detect danger miles away, and send an instant call for help across the globe. Today's ships are exactly that, giant computers floating on the sea. They use radar, satellite systems, electronic maps, and emergency signals that can summon rescue teams in minutes. But over a century ago, one ship didn't have any of that. That ship was the Titanic. What if the Titanic had all this modern tech? Would it still meet the same tragic fate? Let's rewind time and find out together. On the night the Titanic sank, it was dark, no moon. The sea was flat like glass. The lookout had only his eyes and no binoculars. On the night of April 14th, 1912, the Titanic was sailing through icy waters in the North Atlantic. Two crewmen, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, were on duty in the crow's nest, the lookout platform high up on the ship's mast. Their job was simple but critical: spot any danger ahead, especially icebergs. But here's the twist: they didn't have binoculars. Yes, the most advanced ocean liner of its time sent its lookouts into the freezing night through dark, moonless skies without binoculars. When Second Officer David Blair was removed from the Titanic's crew just before departure, he accidentally kept a key that was believed to belong to a locker storing binoculars in the crow's nest, used by the ship's lookouts. It wasn't that Blair locked them in his own locker. Rather, he took the key with him when he left the ship, possibly still attached to his uniform or gear. As a result, the Titanic's lookouts had no access to the binoculars stored on board in that specific cabinet or locker. Without binoculars, Frederick Fleet spotted the iceberg only moments before impact, around 11:40 p.m. He later said during the official inquiry, "If we had had binoculars, we might have seen it sooner." Today, things are very different at sea. On modern ships, binoculars are never locked away. They're always ready and available on the bridge, usually placed right next to the radar or gyro compass for quick access. Every crew knows that seconds matter when you're navigating at sea. That's why we now have multiple binoculars on board, each with a specific purpose. One is designated for the captain, another is for the officer on watch, and two more are issued to the lookouts, especially during critical conditions. Unlike the Titanic, where a simple missing key kept the lookouts from using binoculars, modern safety protocols ensure that no one is left blind on the watch. Technology has advanced, but it's the lessons from history that remind us preparation and access can save lives. And thankfully, today's ships are more prepared than ever. One of the most important tools on board is radar, whether X-band or S-band. It's a system that sends out radio waves and detects objects by bouncing those waves back, revealing dangers ahead, like another vessel or even an iceberg. Unlike in 1912, when Titanic's lookouts relied only on their eyes, modern vessels are armed with tools far more powerful, starting with high-speed X-band and S-band radar. These radars sweep the ocean with incredible detail, painting a high-resolution image of everything around the ship, from small buoys to massive icebergs drifting miles ahead. These provide high-resolution imaging and are sensitive enough to detect small and large targets, including icebergs at significant distances. SAR can detect icebergs in all weather conditions, day or night, and over very wide areas. Detection range for large icebergs. The conventional marine radar typically detects large icebergs at ranges up to 15 to 17 nautical miles, about 28 to 31 kilometers under good conditions. Let's calculate how many minutes it would have taken the Titanic, moving at 22 knots, to reach an object like an iceberg detected 15 to 17 nautical miles ahead if it had modern radar. The formula for computation: time equals distance divided speed, detected by radar at distance 15 nautical miles. Titanic's speed 22 knots. Time equals 15 nautical miles divided 22 knots, approximate 0.6818 hours. 0.6818 hours times 60 minutes per hour equals 40.908 minutes. To help visualize how far that is, here are some real-world examples. Singapore to Batam, Indonesia. The shortest distance from Harbourfront, Singapore to Batam Centre Ferry Terminal is about 15 to 16 nautical miles. That means if the Titanic had a modern radar, it could detect an iceberg as far away as you can see Singapore from Batam across the water. The Enhanced Marine Radar, Ice Hazard Radar. Trials have shown detection of large icebergs at even greater distances, with some systems capable of identifying large targets at over 20 nautical miles, about 37 kilometers, especially when mounted high above the waterline and using advanced processing. Let's calculate how much time the Titanic, traveling at 22 knots, would have had to react if it had modern radar and detected an iceberg 20 nautical miles away. Time equals distance divided speed. Time equals 20 nautical miles divided 22 knots equals 0.9091 hours. 0.9091 hours times 60 minutes per hour equals 54.55 minutes. Synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, is another powerful tool. Satellite-based SAR can detect and track icebergs from hundreds of kilometers away, scanning vast areas of ocean. Onboard ships, SAR is more limited but still impressive, capable of detecting large icebergs at ranges of 20 to 25 nautical miles, depending on factors like radar power, antenna height, and sea conditions. It simply means, even using only the conventional marine radar, the officer of the watch has 40.908 minutes to change course to a safer, navigable area of the ocean. But radar isn't working alone. Modern ships also use a smart digital chart called ECDIS, short for Electronic Chart Display and Information System. It's like a live interactive map that not only shows the ship's position, but also warns of nearby dangers, shallow waters, restricted zones, and yes, even areas known for ice. It is a computer-based navigation system used on ships that displays electronic navigational charts, ENCs, and integrates data from various sensors such as GPS, radar, AIS, automatic identification system, and echo sounders. ECDIS is designed to replace traditional paper charts and complies with international maritime regulations, including those set by the International Maritime Organization, IMO. How ECDIS could have helped the Titanic. If the Titanic had been equipped with ECDIS, several features could have significantly reduced the risk of collision with the iceberg. 1. Enhanced situational awareness. ECDIS would have displayed the Titanic's real-time position on up-to-date electronic charts, including known iceberg locations if they had been reported and charted. Integration with radar could overlay detected objects, like icebergs, directly onto the chart, making them easier to spot and track, even at night or in poor visibility. Let's take a moment to compare how the Titanic navigated in 1912 and how a modern ship equipped with ECDIS navigates today. First, real-time charts. On the Titanic, no electronic maps. Everything was done on paper charts, manually updated. Today, ships use real-time electronic charts that track the vessel's position with pinpoint accuracy. Second, hazard alerts. Titanic had no automated warnings. The crew had to rely entirely on visual lookout and judgment. ECDIS-equipped ships, they provide automated alerts for dangers like shallow water, restricted zones, or ice fields. Third, route planning. Titanic officers manually checked routes, but there was no system to check for hazards along the path automatically. Modern systems allow for route hazard checking. ECDIS scans the planned course and flags risks instantly. Fourth, radar integration. The Titanic had no radar at all. Today's ships can overlay radar and even iceberg echoes directly on the ECDIS screen. Fifth, external warnings. The Titanic received warnings manually via Morse code radio, but many of those messages never reached the captain, lost in the noise of less urgent communications. And some were simply ignored. On a modern bridge, ECDIS systems receive automatic digital updates from satellite and coastal services, updating the crew in real time. And finally, data recording. Titanic had no data recording, no black box, and no way to analyze navigation after the fact. ECDIS-equipped ships continuously record navigation data, which can be reviewed after incidents for investigation and safety improvement. ECDIS is a powerful navigation tool that dramatically improves maritime safety by providing real-time positioning, automated hazard alerts, and integration with other navigational systems. Just with radar and ECDIS, the Titanic would have seen the iceberg long before it was too late. The captain could have slowed down, changed course, and avoided disaster entirely. But advanced tech isn't the only way ships stay safe. Today's ships get automatic messages from a system called NAVTEX. NAVTEX sends automatic iceberg warnings, giving the crew early alerts about dangers ahead. Messages go directly to the bridge, so no critical warning gets lost or delayed. It provides exact coordinates and hazard details, helping officers plan a safer route around the ice. Combined with GPS and radar, it boosts situational awareness, letting the crew see, understand, and react faster. And with frequent updates, the crew stays informed about changing conditions in real time. In short, NAVTEX doesn't just warn, it gives time to act, something the Titanic never had. In essence, NAVTEX would have provided the Titanic with real-time, precise, and automatically delivered iceberg warnings, allowing the crew to take evasive action much earlier and avoid the fatal collision. Titanic's crew would have seen several ice warnings hours earlier and avoided the dangerous area completely. Knowing where you are in 1912, the Titanic used stars and a compass to know where it was. Cool, right? But not very accurate in bad weather. Today, ships use GPS, just like on your phone, but even better, they use DGPS, which is super exact and never gets lost. The officers on the bridge can see the ship's position on a live digital map every second. What are GPS and DGPS? GPS, Global Positioning System, provides ships with highly accurate real-time location data anywhere on Earth. DGPS, Differential GPS, an enhanced version of GPS that uses ground-based reference stations to correct errors, achieving accuracy within a few meters or even less. Risk of collision due to navigational error or missed warnings would have been dramatically reduced. In combination with radar and ECDIS, DGPS is a cornerstone of modern maritime safety, making disasters like the Titanic's far less likely today. The crew would always know where they are and where the danger zones are. Sending a distress call. Back then, the Titanic used Morse code to call for help. If the Titanic had GMDSS, everything could have changed. Automated iceberg warnings from NAVTEX and satellites would have given early direct alerts to the bridge, pinpointing iceberg locations in real time. In case of emergency, distress signals could be sent instantly, speeding up rescue coordination and saving more lives. With full integration across radar, GPS, and ECDIS, the crew would have had better situational awareness and hazard detection. And with multiple communication channels and built-in redundancy, no critical message would be missed, no matter the conditions. GMDSS doesn't just react, it prevents. Exactly what the Titanic needed. GMDSS, Global Maritime Distress and Safety System, can still send out a distress call, enabling faster emergency communication and rescue coordination. If a ship is in trouble, an officer can just press a button. A distress message with the ship's name and exact location goes to every nearby ship and rescue station around the world. Help could come faster, from planes, helicopters, coast guards, or ships nearby. But even if all modern navigation systems failed, and human error still led to disaster, today's Titanic wouldn't vanish into the cold Atlantic unnoticed. Because now, we have EPIRBs, Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacons. These small, floating devices send out an automatic SOS signal to satellites the moment they hit the water. Linked to the Cospus SARSAT satellite system, they broadcast a distress alert with the ship's identity and exact GPS location, accurate to within 100 meters. Satellites relay that signal to the nearest rescue coordination center, and search teams are deployed, often within minutes. That means survivors don't wait blindly at sea. They're found faster, with life-saving speed during the critical first 24 hours, known as the Golden Day. And it doesn't stop there. Modern EPIRBs also emit homing signals on 121.5 MHz, flash visible and infrared strobes, and even send IS alerts, guiding aircraft and rescue vessels to survivors even in poor visibility or rough seas. If the Titanic had these tools back then, more lifeboats might have been found, more people might have lived. But it doesn't end there. Today, every lifeboat is equipped with a SART, a search and rescue transponder. This small device waits quietly until it detects a nearby X-band radar signal from a ship or aircraft. Then, it activates. Sending back a clear, pulsing signal, it creates a distinctive pattern on a rescuer's radar screen. First dots, then arcs, then circles, guiding them right to the survivors, even in fog, storms, or darkness.
A SART is activated when it detects an X-band radar signal from a nearby vessel or rescue aircraft. For ships or watercraft, activation typically occurs within 5 to 8 nautical miles, depending on antenna height and conditions.
An X-band radar on a rescue aircraft or helicopter flying at an altitude of around 1,000 feet, 300 meters, can activate a SART even if it's just 1 meter above sea level. Due to the high line-of-sight advantage, detection can occur from 10 to over 30 nautical miles, depending on radar power, sea conditions, and atmospheric clarity. In a survival craft, the SART should be mounted at least 1 meter above sea level. It remains in standby mode until it detects an incoming X-band radar signal from a rescue ship or aircraft, at which point it activates and transmits a series of response signals back to the radar. With a battery life of up to 96 hours on standby and 8 hours active, SARTs stay ready during the most critical hours, when survival hangs in the balance. If the Titanic had this technology, search crews wouldn't have searched the ocean blindly. They would have gone straight to the people who needed saving. Unlike lifeboats or people in the water, hard to detect on radar, SARTs fight through the clutter, shining like a beacon in the storm. When we compare the Titanic's navigation tools to today's technology, one thing is clear. We've come a long way in making the sea a safer place, but only if we use the tools wisely. If you're passionate about maritime safety, what-if stories at sea, and real-life sea tragedies, this episode is for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more what-if maritime stories.